Jeremy Lin and the Knicks come at you with another highlight.
Lin puts it up. Bang! Jeremy Lin from downtown!
February 2012. Madison Square Garden is electric. The crowd's on its feet. The clock is winding down. And in the middle of it all is a guy who, just weeks earlier, was on the edge of being cut. His name, Jeremy Lin, an undrafted kid from Harvard. Cut twice, sleeping on a teammate's couch just to stay in the league. And in the span of 1 month, he didn't just save the New York Knicks. He took over the entire NBA. But to understand how this all happened, how a complete unknown became a global sports sensation, we have to start long before Madison Square Garden. Jeremy Lin grew up in Palo Alto, California, a short drive from the heart of Silicon Valley. He wasn't your typical NBA prospect, no AAU hype machine, no McDonald's All-American nod. In fact, despite leading Palo Alto High School to a state championship, Division I offers didn't exactly pour in. His dream schools, Stanford and UCLA, passed on him. The only serious interest came from Ivy League programs and a few mid-majors. Lin chose Harvard, knowing full well that Ivy League schools can't offer athletic scholarships. It was academics and basketball in that order, at least on paper. At Harvard, Lin developed into a versatile point guard, scoring, distributing, defending multiple positions. By his senior year, he averaged 16 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. But Ivy League basketball isn't exactly a pipeline to the NBA. Scouts questioned his competition level, his athleticism, even his position. 2010 NBA draft night came and went. Jeremy Lin's name was never called. That summer, he signed with his hometown Golden State Warriors. It was a feel-good story. Local kid makes the team. But the Warriors already had Steph Curry and Monta Ellis in the backcourt. Lin barely played, spending time in the D-League. By December 2011, during the lockout-shortened season, Golden State waived him. The Houston Rockets picked him up and waived him again before the season started. By late December, the Knicks claimed him off waivers, mostly as emergency depth. The reality? He was one bad practice away from being out of the league entirely. The 2011-12 Knicks were supposed to be contenders. On paper, they had firepower. Carmelo Anthony, one of the league's purest scorers. Amari Stoudemire, fresh off an MVP-caliber season just a year earlier. Tyson Chandler, the defensive anchor from Dallas's championship team. But basketball isn't played on paper. The season had started in chaos. A lockout shortened the schedule to just 66 games, cramming back-to-backs and even back-to-back-to-backs into the calendar. The Knicks' offense stalled early. The ball stuck in isolation sets. Their defense, shaky. And head coach Mike D'Antoni's free-flowing pick-and-roll heavy system, it wasn't clicking with his stars. By late January, New York was 8-15. Madison Square Garden's crowd, famous for its energy, was restless. D'Antoni's seat was getting hot, and somewhere deep on the bench sat Jeremy Lin. For weeks, Lin's job had been survival. His contract wasn't guaranteed past February. He wasn't part of the rotation. Most nights, he warmed the bench in warm-ups, studying the game like a student who wasn't sure if he'd even be in class tomorrow. But something else was brewing behind the scenes. Baron Davis, who was supposed to be the Knicks' veteran point guard, was out with a back injury. Tony Douglas and Mike Bibby weren't producing. The offense lacked direction. D'Antoni, desperate for a spark, started looking further down the bench. As Lin would later say, "I was praying for one chance, just one." That chance was coming, but not because the Knicks suddenly believed in it. In reality, they were out of options. With another game against the lowly New Jersey Nets on the horizon, D'Antoni made a decision. Let's see what the kid can do. No one, not D'Antoni, not the players, not even Jeremy Lin, had any idea what was about to happen next. The New York Knicks had lost 11 of their last 13 games. Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, felt restless. The Nets, still in New Jersey at the time, weren't exactly contenders either. It was the kind of matchup that normally wouldn't mean much. But for Jeremy Lin, it was everything. He wasn't supposed to play meaningful minutes. In fact, Lin had quietly packed a small bag in case he got sent down to the D-League again, something that could have happened any day. He was staying on teammate Landry Fields' couch, trying to stretch his paychecks, unsure if the Knicks would keep him past the week. Early in the game, the Knicks looked flat. D'Antoni, searching for anything that might work, glanced down the bench, and in a move that would change the course of the season and Lin's life, he called Jeremy's name. Lin stepped onto the floor wearing number 17, and almost instantly, the energy shifted. He pushed the ball in transition, attacked the rim, and found Tyson Chandler for easy dunks. On defense, he fought over screens, harassed ball handlers, and grabbed rebounds. Play after play, the crowd began to notice. Every time Lin touched the ball, there was a buzz. That, "Wait a minute, who is this guy?" kind of murmur. By halftime, Lin already had double-digit points. By the fourth quarter, he had Madison Square Garden on its feet. His final stat line, 25 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals in 36 minutes. But numbers don't capture the feeling in the building that night. The Knicks fed off his energy. The fans fed off his fearlessness. Even his teammates, many of whom barely knew him, couldn't help but celebrate every bucket like it was the playoffs. The Knicks won 99-92, snapping their skid. And as the buzzer sounded, fans were chanting his name. Jeremy! Jeremy! In a single night, Jeremy Lin went from a player on the verge of being cut to the man everyone in New York wanted to talk about. And this was just the beginning. 2 nights after the Nets game, the Knicks were back at Madison Square Garden to face the Utah Jazz. By now, the buzz around Jeremy Lin was starting to spread. Knicks fans wanted to see if it was real. Was this just a random hot night from an unknown guard, or was something bigger happening? For Lin, there was no time to think about hype. D'Antoni had just told him he'd be making his first start of the season, and in a twist of fate, Carmelo Anthony left the game early with an injury, meaning the Knicks' offense would flow through Lin. The Jazz were a tough physical team with defenders who'd seen their share of quick guards. From the opening tip, they tested him. They trapped him high, bumped him off drives, tried to force him into mistakes. But Lin kept his composure. He used the pick and roll to perfection, hitting mid-range pull-ups when the defense went under and slicing into the paint when they went over. He found shooters on the wing, slipped passes to big men inside, and every time Utah made a run, he answered. By the fourth quarter, MSG was rocking. Lin's confidence was growing with every possession. His final stat line, 28 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, and another Knicks win. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a fluke. In just his first start, Jeremy Lin had shown he could control a game from start to finish, and yet there was no time to celebrate. The condensed lockout schedule meant another game was waiting the very next night in Washington, D.C. Against the Wizards, Lin wasted no time. He scored 23 points and handed out 10 assists, his first official double-double of the season. But maybe the most telling stat, the Knicks had now won 3 straight games with him running the point. By the time they got back to New York, the whispers were getting louder. 3 straight wins, 3 big performances. And next on the schedule, a primetime showdown with Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers. If the Nets game was the spark and the Jazz and Wizards games were the confirmation, the next game would be the explosion. The Los Angeles Lakers were in town, and this wasn't just any Lakers team. This was Kobe Bryant's Lakers, the 5-time champion, the Black Mamba, the man who could drop 40 on you without breaking a sweat. By now, Jeremy Lin was the hottest story in basketball. 3 straight breakout games, the city of New York buzzing, and the game was nationally televised. Everyone was waiting to see if he'd fold under the bright lights, or rise to the moment. Before tip-off, reporters asked Kobe about Lin's sudden rise. His answer?
No idea. I know who he is, but I don't really know what's going on too much. I don't even know what he's done. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Who is this kid? Yeah, I've heard about him, stuff like that, but I don't know what has he been doing? He's averaging 28 and 8.
25. Would you consider guarding him if he's having one of those games?
Jesus Christ. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It wasn't disrespect, it was reality. Jeremy Lin had been a nobody just a week earlier, but inside MSG, that comment only added fuel to the fire. From the opening possession, Lin was fearless. He attacked the paint, drawing fouls. He pulled up for jumpers when defenders sagged. He threaded passes to Tyson Chandler for alley-oops that shook the building. Every time the Lakers closed the gap, Lin hit another shot, and Kobe, he was locked in too, hitting contested jumpers, driving to the rim. It was a duel, even if they weren't guarding each other directly. The Garden crowd was living and dying with every play. Midway through the third quarter, Lin pulled up in transition and drained a 3 over Derek Fisher. The crowd erupted. Spike Lee was on his feet, arms in the air. D'Antoni was grinning on the sideline. The energy was pure chaos. By the fourth quarter, it wasn't a question anymore. Lin wasn't just holding his own against Kobe's Lakers. He was taking over. Final stat line, 38 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. The Knicks won 92-85. And as the final buzzer sounded, the cameras caught something unforgettable. Kobe walking off the court, glancing over at Lin with the faintest smirk. The kind of smirk that says, okay, now I know who you are. In just 1 week, Jeremy Lin had gone from anonymous bench warmer to the man who outshined Kobe Bryant on a national stage. But the magic wasn't done yet. 4 days later, he'd deliver one of the most iconic moments of the entire Linsanity run, and he'd do it on the road, with the game on the line. Valentine's Day, 2012. The New York Knicks were in Toronto to face the Raptors, and by now, Jeremy Lin was no longer just a New York story. He was an international sensation. His games were being broadcast around the world, particularly in Asia, where millions tuned in live despite the time difference. But for the first time during his hot streak, he was struggling. The Raptors came prepared. They trapped him in the half court, cut off passing lanes, and forced him into contested shots. Toronto built a lead, and with just under 5 minutes left, the Knicks were still down double digits. And that's when something flipped. Lin started attacking again, driving to the basket, finishing through contact, hitting big free throws. The Knicks clawed their way back, possession by possession. The crowd, split between Raptors fans and waves of Lin supporters, was on edge. With the score tied at 87 and just 17 seconds left, the Knicks had the ball. Everyone in the building knew who was taking the last shot.
Tied at 87. Lin with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lin for the win. Got it.
The ball sails through the air, perfect rotation, and drops straight through the net with 0.5 seconds left. The Knicks bench exploded. Tyson Chandler was screaming. Landry Fields wrapped Lin in a bear hug. Even D'Antoni, normally calm, threw his arms in the air. And in the stands, Raptors fans were stunned into silence, while Knicks fans roared like they were back in Madison Square Garden. Lin finished the game with 27 points and 11 assists. That last shot, that was the one that cemented his status as a global phenomenon. It wasn't just a big play. It was the perfect movie moment. Overnight, the clip was everywhere. ESPN, CNN, YouTube, social media feeds feeds from New York to Taipei. If there were still people who didn't know Jeremy Lin's name before, they knew it now. And as the Knicks' winning streak grew, so did the media circus. Magazine covers, late-night show appearances, even stock market jumps for Madison Square Garden. But as every great run in sports teaches us, the higher you rise, the faster the league tries to bring you back down. By mid-February 2012, Jeremy Lin wasn't just a sports story, he was a global phenomenon. In New York, Linsanity dominated the headlines. Back pages of the New York Post and Daily News were filled with puns. Super Nintendo. All he does is Lin possible. His jersey, number 17, went from a warehouse afterthought to the best-selling jersey in the entire NBA in just over a week. The NBA's online store sold out completely. Madison Square Garden's pro shop couldn't restock fast enough. On Wall Street, MSG's stock price jumped nearly 7% during the streak, a surge analysts directly linked to Lin's emergence. TV ratings for Knicks games spiked, not just in the US, but across Asia, where Jeremy Lin's games became appointment viewing. In Taiwan, traffic slowed to a crawl as offices set up TVs to watch him play live. The media couldn't get enough. ESPN, CNN, Time Magazine, Sports Illustrated. Lin made the cover of them all. Late-night hosts cracked jokes, NBA legends weighed in, and sports talk radio buzzed with debates about how real this was. But there was a deeper layer to it all. For many Asian Americans, Lin's rise wasn't just exciting, it was groundbreaking. He was the first American-born NBA player of Chinese or Taiwanese descent to become a star, shattering stereotypes about who could succeed in professional basketball. Lin's calm demeanor, humility, and team-first attitude made him instantly likable. He wasn't brash, he wasn't a trash talker. He was just a guy who worked, waited for his chance, and then made the most of it. In a league dominated by larger-than-life personalities, Lin's story felt different, almost like a modern-day sports fairy tale. Through it all, Lin stayed grounded. After games, he often thanked God, deflected praise to his teammates, and insisted that the winning streak was about the Knicks, not just him. By now, Linsanity was a tidal wave, and like all waves, it was bound to crash. The rest of the NBA was watching and preparing. By late February 2012, Linsanity was unstoppable. At least, that's how it felt. The Knicks had won 7 straight with Lin as the starting point guard, and his numbers were still electric. But the NBA is a league of adjustments, and the next team on the schedule knew exactly how to test him. February 23rd, 2012, Miami Heat versus New York Knicks. This wasn't just any Miami team. This was the defending Eastern Conference champion Heat, led by LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. A team built for playoff basketball with one of the most aggressive defenses in the league. From the opening tip, they trapped Lin high on every pick and roll, sending long, athletic defenders to cut off every passing lane. They forced him to his weak hand, pressured him full court, and swarmed the paint whenever he drove. The result was jarring. Lin finished 1 for 11 from the field, scoring just 8 points with 8 turnovers. The Knicks lost 102-88, and for the first time during the streak, it looked like someone had found the blueprint. The loss didn't kill Linsanity, but it was a turning point. Other teams began adopting similar defensive schemes, and the grind of the condensed season started to take its toll. Then came another challenge, the return of Carmelo Anthony. Melo was the Knicks' franchise star, but his high-usage, isolation-heavy style clashed with the free-flowing pick-and-roll game that had fueled Lin's breakout. The chemistry that had clicked so perfectly during the streak started to fray. The Knicks began dropping games again, and the media, once obsessed with every Lin highlight, started running stories about locker room tension and whether Melo and Lin could coexist. And then, the final blow, in late March, Lin felt pain in his knee. Tests revealed a torn meniscus. Surgery was the only option. Overnight, the season was over. Without Lin, the Knicks stumbled to a 36-30 finish, good enough to make the playoffs, but as the 7th seed. In the first round, they ran into the Miami Heat again. This time, with no Linsanity to save them, the Knicks were overmatched. Miami eliminated them in 5 games. For Jeremy Lin, the season ended on the bench in street clothes, watching the very team that had cracked the code against him send the Knicks home. It was a cruel ending to one of the most magical runs in NBA history. And if the end of the season wasn't bittersweet enough, what happened that summer would close the chapter on his time in New York for good. That summer, Jeremy Lin entered restricted free agency, meaning the Knicks could match any offer he received. Houston, seeing a chance to land the NBA's most marketable breakout star, put together a 3-year, $25 million deal. On paper, it didn't look outrageous until you saw the structure. The first 2 years were manageable, around $5 million and $5.2 million. But the third year would jump to nearly $15 million, a massive spike known as a poison pill provision. It was designed to hurt New York's salary cap if they matched, since that balloon year would hit them hard under the new luxury tax rules. The Knicks had a decision to make. Match Houston's poison pill offer sheet to keep Jeremy Lin or let him walk. In the end, the Knicks let him go. Just months after captivating New York and the basketball world, Jeremy Lin was a Houston Rocket. In his first season with the Rockets, Lin started all 82 games alongside their new star, James Harden. He averaged 13.4 points, 6.1 assists, and became a steady floor general. But the magic of Linsanity was hard to replicate. Defenses knew his tendencies, and Harden's ball-dominant style meant Lin was often playing off the ball. In year 2, he shifted to a 6th-man role, embracing it without complaint. But by summer 2014, 2015, the Rockets traded him to the Los Angeles Lakers. His time in LA was rocky. The Lakers were in full rebuild mode after Kobe Bryant's injuries, and Lin's fit in Byron Scott's offense was never smooth. He averaged 11 points and 4.6 assists, but the team struggled mightily, finishing 21-61. In 2015, Lin signed with the Charlotte Hornets, and something clicked again. Playing behind Kemba Walker, Lin thrived as a spark plug off the bench, averaging 11.7 points and helping the Hornets win 48 games, their best record in nearly 2 decades. He played a big role in their playoff run, pushing the Miami Heat to 7 games in the first round. That summer, Lin landed a big free agent deal with the Brooklyn Nets, a 3-year, $36 million contract. He was set to be their starting point guard and leader for a young roster. But then, the injuries started. In his very first game of the 2017-18 season, Lin drove to the basket, landed awkwardly, and immediately grabbed his knee. He had ruptured his patellar tendon. The injury ended his season before it even began. Lin worked tirelessly to return, but the burst and durability he once had never fully came back. That led to his final NBA stop, the Toronto Raptors. Lin signed late in the season and became part of a deep rotation during their playoff run. While his minutes were limited, he was there for the historic moment, the Raptors winning their first NBA championship in 2019. Lin became the first Asian American player to win an NBA title. After that, the NBA offers stopped coming. Lin headed overseas, starring in the Chinese Basketball Association and later playing in Taiwan. Injuries and age had slowed him down, but his name still carried weight. Fans still remembered that magical month in 2012, and everywhere he went, there were Linsanity jerseys in the stands. Looking back, his post-Knicks career wasn't about recreating that run, it was about resilience. He reinvented himself as a role player, a leader, and a mentor, but the same injuries that robbed him of consistency also kept him from ever sustaining that star-level impact again. And yet, even without another Linsanity, Jeremy Lin carved out a 9-year NBA career, something very few undrafted players ever achieved. Linsanity lasted just over a month, but for millions of fans, it's frozen in time. A rare stretch in sports where the impossible seemed to happen every single night. Jeremy Lin's rise wasn't just about points and assists, it was about timing, opportunity, and belief. In a league built on superstars, he reminded us that anyone, even an undrafted guard out of Harvard sleeping on a couch, can become the face of the game, if only for a moment. For Asian American fans, Lin was more than a player. He was representation on the biggest basketball stage in the world. He broke stereotypes, opened doors, and proved that talent doesn't come with a certain look or background. His success inspired a generation of kids who might have been told they didn't belong in the sport. And for New Yorkers, he'll always be part of the city's basketball fabric. Madison Square Garden has seen legends come and go, but few have lit it up with the sudden pure joy Jeremy Lin brought in February 2012. Even now, more than a decade later, his name still sparks a smile. A memory of that shot over Jose Calderon in Toronto, the night he outscored Kobe Bryant, the alley-oops to Tyson Chandler, and the pure magic of watching the Knicks win again. Lin's NBA career may not have ended the way fans dreamed, and injuries may have kept him from building on his meteoric rise. But that doesn't erase the fact that he became a champion, a respected veteran, and a symbol of perseverance. Linsanity wasn't just a sports story, it was a human story about what can happen when preparation meets opportunity and the world is watching. And for one unforgettable month, Jeremy Lin didn't just take over Madison Square Garden, he took over the NBA. Jeremy Lin's journey is proof that in sports and in life, one moment can change everything. From undrafted underdog sleeping on a couch to dropping 38 points on Kobe Bryant under the lights of Madison Square Garden to inspiring millions around the world, Linsanity was more than a hot streak. It was a reminder that no matter how many times you've been overlooked, no matter how far from the spotlight you are, your time can still come. And when it does, it can shake the entire world. If you enjoyed reliving this story, do me a favor, hit that like button so more basketball fans can see it. And if you want more deep dives into the moments that changed the NBA forever, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Because Linsanity might have been once in a lifetime, but the NBA is full of unbelievable stories just waiting to be told.